Time for some more brawling good time. This time we've got Doombull and his Minotaur bros versus a bunch of Black Orcs and Grimgor, so definitely in for a good time. We got a bit of Vanguard action as well. A couple of Wolf Riders already teeing off on some Centaurs there. Looks like the Grog Hooves with an Ungor Spearman to kind of support them. I like that actually, just in case of some Vanguard light cab from the Greenskins, some Poison Warhounds as well. Looks like as for the rest of the Greenskins, looks like Night Goblins up front. Got 3 Black Orcs as mentioned, Grimgor the Iron Hide, Orc Shaman, and some Squig Herds, plus a Rock Lobber. Out on this side, some more Light Cav, both the Regiment are now in Skirmish Cavalry. Specifically, looks like some more Minotaurs here with shields, some here. Ray Shaman of Death, very interesting choice. A couple of best Gore Herds as well, Gore Herds with shields. Let's get things rolling. It's definitely going to be a good time on this one. Just absolutely love the Dazed contact effect on Doombull, and yeah, honestly, not that I think it should be spread around to like every single faction, but I think there's certain lords and characters could very much benefit from getting Dazed as a contact effect. Funny enough, Grimgor is probably one of them, and certainly you could make the case that his strikes would be powerful enough to daze his foes, even though the Dazed really so far has only been applied to units with fist weapons. That is the Doombull and the punching Croxagors, of course, the sacred Croxagors. But here we've got a little bit of skirmish action. Night Goblins moving forward, getting counteracted by the Poison Hounds. They're going to do an okay engagement initially, but the Night Goblins certainly have the numbers and HP to fight back, no problem. Squig Herds also with the bonuses, Infantry piling in there. They can counteract Hounds quite well. Then we see the Spears kind of deployed, so both players kind of easing into the fight over on this side. Yeah, I mean, honestly, the Night Goblins will trade pretty well against the Ungor Spearman Herds, so we'll see how this ends up panning out. More Squig Herds piled in, take out the Hounds, and yeah, then you see the anti-infantry bonus playing into it as these bestial packs engage. Two-legged Squigs show their superiority in that particular fight. Meanwhile, these blue-clad goblins, which is quite a nice color scheme for the Greenskins, I have to say, duking it out with the nice bright Beastmen. Death Creepers, Mangy Marauders moving forward, doing some nice skirmishing with those Centaur throwing axes. Value-wise, this is fantastic. Likewise, from a range perspective, Greenskins Skirmish Cavalry largely outranges the throwing axes, so as long as you're kind of on top of your micro, well, I say largely, it's actually pretty close, 70 versus like 100. So though, taking that damage on the Death Creepers, they can regenerate. But Squig Herds do get enraged forward into some of those spears and lost, which is a little bit unfortunate. Rock Lob is going to switch on to the Vestigor Herd, which are not a particularly threatening unit. Vestigor Herds they're okay. They're really not great right now, to be honest. They have a decent charge, but other than that, they're not great for the cost, certainly. But let's see here. Minotaurs also moving in. Doombull getting ready to engage. So both players having kind of contested that initial skirmish phase, getting ready for the real fight now. And so far, the value is slightly in the Greenskins' favor, both in terms of real battlefield damage and the balance of power. Let's see, we're going to discover some of these Night Goblins. And the Minotaurs shouldn't fear Night Goblins too much. They can pretty much just charge straight into the front line, no problems. There's not really any archers or anything to oppose them either, so we'll see. I mean, Greenskins could maybe, what I would do, honestly, is probably grab all my archers, focus them up, almost as like a traditional archer line, so they can put in some shots into these Minotaurs as they fight in the front line. Or you could, again, group them all up, maybe swing them over to this flank and kind of contest against the Centaurs. Anyway, gonna see a nice foot of Gork get popped here. It will do some friendly damage, although the armor certainly of the Black Orcs will help them not take nearly as much from that, but still, yeah, it actually does surprisingly little to the Beastmen too, considering how much that spell costs. Really not that much of a fan of it, but this I'm also not necessarily a fan of. The Greenskins have much inferior melee stats. I mean, they do get a good engagement initially on the one Centaur there, but then the others are going to pile in spears. You got Groghugs also, they're Regiment Renown, and they've got regeneration, so yeah, it's going to be rough for the Greenskins Missile Cavalry in that engagement overall, but still holding out okay. Grimgor himself, though, gets into a bit of a pickle. He's going to pop Wah and all of his buffs here. which certainly should help, but once those things start to wear off, I mean, the Gitsnik is up to 800 weapon strength, but with Gitsnik, and wow, that is just remarkable. That Dazed contact effect, though, reducing his melee defense, and also slowing him down. At least it says it reduces his melee defense. Something else must be buffing it up a little bit there. That best of the best, of course. So that will counteract the Dazed pretty well, but at the same time, Grimgor just gets surrounded here without much support and completely circle beaten by minotaurs, which, you know, he is of a considerable size to where he can get actually in contact with quite a few of them at the same time, which is definitely going to be bad for him. That's like 400, 500 weapon strength consistently, just circle beating. And Grimgor gets beat up pretty badly early on, which is quite sad to see, I must say. Here we go, also being cast, and Black Orcs will certainly get some damage, but they're kind of slowish attack animations. I mean, they're a little bit better on the grind, and they also really don't like that blinded, or dazed, rather, contact effect, reducing their melee defense and speed, both of which they don't have a lot of to begin with, so yeah, it just helps those Minotaurs trade that much more effectively, too, especially if you're bringing the shielded Minotaurs who don't have as good of offensive stats, right? They don't have as good of melee attack, they don't have a bonus versus large or infantry, so I think actually the melee attack might be exactly the same, but they don't have any bonuses. The damage output against a given target might be a little bit lower, but that extra melee defense debuff means you can take the shields for the missile block chance in their own melee defense and still be performing just fine. Plus, I mean, it's a Doombull supporting Minotaurs. The theme points are just spectacular as well. There you go. Yeah, Lore of Death Shaman on his chariot, also doing a nice job. Another Wah being popped, though, and that is going to absolutely clobber quite a few of the Beastmen's units. If you take a look at the peripheral engagements, though, it looks like the Centaurs were eventually able to best the majority of the missile cavalry here. Still a handful kind of gliding around, shooting a little bit. Some Squigs and some Black Orcs here making a little push, beating down that unit of Minotaurs, while the Beastmen regroup a bit. Still plenty of Black Orcs, quite healthy. Grimgor also comes back for another push, and buffing up his units here. The woods aren't going to matter because it's Beastmen. They all have woodsmen, pretty much. So the Greenskins won't necessarily get any advantages for fighting in the woods, which otherwise, like, say, against Lizardmen, would be a very advisable thing to do in this situation. So you have an infantry-only force fighting a bunch of monsters, but again, it's Beastmen, so they all have woodsmen. It does not matter. They suffer no penalties, can pass through trees. Ooh, let's see, though. These Beastmen units regrouped initially. Looked like they were going to be brought forward. There we go. Initially, well, put in tactical reserve, but that's okay. They're going to eventually get involved here. Doombull's holding out all right. Hasn't taken too much damage, and now going to go 2v1. The Shaman also got some more Gors closing from this side. Grimgor pops his Bloodforged armor. He's going to move back. One more duel of the fates here between these two brawlers. But Grimgor has taken too much. It's also 2v1 here, which is, again, the Brave Shaman is not to be discounted on his chariot. He's got solid weapon strength, charge bonus, armor piercing, anti-infantry, all of which apply, so definitely not Grimgor's time. He's going to go down, and that will be leadership issues for the Greenskins. That said, the balance of power is heavily in their favor just due to the fact that the Beastmen are taking severe casualties and having a hard time grinding down those Black Orcs. So let's see what happens. It's going to be up to Doombull himself to try and get it done. And he certainly can. His animations that kind of carry him around the formations that prevent the Black Orcs from being able to do many attack animations, like that little battle roll there, or, you know, other such attack animations. It'll charge in, right? That will definitely work in his favor here. Let's see. Still going to be taking some hits, certainly from the Black Orcs, especially in that rear arc. You do see him slowly getting chunked down, but the Black Orcs' leadership is just not holding up. Shaman, Orc Shaman also, well, here we go, on himself. Trying to juice up his melee attack. Will get some damage in as well, but now without those Black Orcs, he's kind of up a creek without any paddles. Now all the support units break, and it's just a matter of time before the Shaman himself gives up the fight, which inevitably will lead to army losses here. There you go. So, ends up being pretty close. Some actually nice back and forth there. But I really like the build from Hand Mantis. You get a lot of bases covered here, and things tend to be relatively cost-effective. The only thing I'd probably change out is the best Gore. Honestly, just take Zangors instead. They're just very similar units, but more cost-effective, and you don't really need the AP here. I mean, Greenskins are not really a heavily armored faction. They have a few units, and certainly in this matchup you might expect Black Orcs, but this build had no problem with enough AP to take them out, as it turns out. So yeah, just cut these guys down for Zangors, get you enough gold to buy an extra Ungor Spearman Herd, or maybe a Raider. It'd be nice to have at least one Infantry Raider here to try and give some skirmish potential. But yeah, overall, very solid build. I like it quite a bit. On the Greenskin side, definitely respect the pick of Grimgor, even if he turned out pretty poor and just kind of got isolated and beat down in this matchup. If he doesn't get isolated, he can actually work very well in conjunction with the Black Orcs, who all do a good job and pay for themselves. It's just the supporting pieces, again, do not as much. I mean, I guess some of the goblins, 900 value on them is hard to argue with. And the skirmish initially seemed pretty good, but then, yeah, that the initial phase was solid. But then the second phase, I think Greenskins arguably mismanaged a little bit there, or maybe Mantis just did a really good job of chasing them down. Let's give some credit to him also. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed that. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.